Hey Jenny,
Hey, Kurt.
what are we doing today?
Well, we came across two chapters that seem to really align, and it seems to be a warning to the shepherds.
So in our previous life, I used to hear people say that they were chosen by the Holy Spirit to represent. And
No, I
then
think it's more like you followed teachers who you thought had something, or how popular is it to hear someone's dream and think that they've got that secret knowledge?
I thought it was important to remember one thing and one thing only. And it seems to me like the Father's saying it again and again. The job of the shepherd is to look for his lost sheep. So how do we define lost sheep? Is the children of Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth, and for the shepherds to go find them and tell them who they are. And I'm here to tell you that nobody's doing it.
But
Not
also,
one.
yeah, and also, like, the shepherd is to keep his sheep together. He's to find them food. He's to find them water. He's to lead them in the good way to go. And Yah's path is the good way to go. His keeping his commandments, keeping his instructions. Those things have not been taught. Those things are like a mystery. If you are going to church or wherever, it's like, oh, you kind of have to figure those out on your own instead of being led to them.
And then one of our previous videos, we were talking, or Isaiah was talking, and Yahuwah was saying through Isaiah that I will find and I will teach them.
Yes.
Right? So that's one prophet where Yahuwah is saying that. And then we find two others where he says the same exact thing. So I think we should go with yours first, Ezekiel.
Okay.
We're going to go to Ezekiel 34, and you are reading from the Stones Tanakh.
Yes, I am.
And I said in the last video, 2 videos ago, that it's out of print. That was during COVID, so now it's back in print. So,
yes, and they have a whole website.
And they have 2 versions of it. One is with the Hebrew on one page, and then the English on the other, right? Are they opposed to each other?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one is just English only, or just Hebrew only. I guess so. There's 3 different versions.
That's true.
Again, we're going to Ezekiel 34.
The word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, prophesy against the shepherds of Israel. Prophesy and say to them, to the shepherds, Thus said Yahweh Elohim, Woe to the shepherds of Israel who have tended themselves. Is it not the flock that the shepherds should tend? The choicest you eat, the wool you wear, and the healthiest you slaughter. But the rest of the flock you do not tend. The frail you do not strengthen. The ill you do not cure. The broken you did not bind. The banished you did not retrieve. For the lost you did not search. Rather, you subjugated them with force and with rigor. Thus they came scattered for lack of a shepherd, and became food for every beast of the field. They became scattered. My sheep wander on all the mountains and upon every high hill. My sheep have scattered upon the whole face of the earth, but no one seeks and no one searches. Therefore, O shepherds, hear the word of Yahweh, as I live, the word of Yahweh Elohim. I swear that because my sheep have become spoils, and my sheep have become food for every beast of the field for lack of a shepherd. And my shepherds did not seek out my sheep, for the shepherds tended themselves, but did not tend my flock. Therefore, shepherds, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I am against the shepherds, and I will seek out my flock from their hand, and I will cause them to cease herding sheep, and the shepherds will no longer tend themselves. Thus I will rescue my sheep from their mouths, and they will no longer be food for them. For thus said Yahweh Elohim, Behold, I am here, and I will seek out my sheep, and I will tend them. As a shepherd tends his flock on the day he is among his separated sheep, so will I tend to my sheep and rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on the day of cloud and thick cloud. I will remove them from the peoples and gather them from the lands and bring them to their soil. And I will tend them upon the mountains of Israel, in the streams and in the land's habitations. I will shepherd them upon a good pasture, and their fold will be upon the heights of Israel's mountains. There they will lie down in a good fold and graze upon fat pastures on the mountains of Israel.
Where are you?
I will.
Sorry.
15.
Okay.
I will care for my sheep, and I will lay them down. The word of Yahweh Elohim. For the lost I will search, the banished I will retrieve, the broken I will bind, the ill I will strengthen, but the fat one and the strong one I will destroy. I will tend them with justice. As for you, my sheep, thus said Yahweh Elohim, behold, I am judging between lamb, and rams and he-goats. Is it not enough for you that you graze in the good pasture, that you must also trample the rest of your pasture underfoot? Is it not enough that you drink settled waters, that you must also befoul the rest with your feet? And my flock, must they graze the tramplings of your feet and drink the befoulment of your feet? Therefore, thus said Yahweh Elohim to them, behold, I am here, and I shall judge between the robust lamb and the famished lamb. Because you push with flank and shoulder, and you gore all the frail ones with your horns, until you have scattered them away. So will I save my sheep, and they will no longer be for spoils. And I will judge between lamb and lamb. I will establish over them a single shepherd, and he will tend them. My servant David. He will tend them, and he will be a shepherd unto them, and I, Yahweh, will be a God to them, and my servant David, a prince among them. I, Yahweh, have spoken. I will seal a covenant of peace with them, and abolish evil beasts from the land, and they will dwell securely in the wilderness, and sleep in the forests. Then I will make them, and the surroundings of my hill, into a blessing, and I will bring the rain in its time. They will be rains of blessing. The tree of the field will yield its fruit, and the earth will yield its produce, and they will be secure upon their land. Then they will know that I am Yahweh, when I break the rods of their yoke and rescue them from the hands of those who enslave them. They will no longer be spoils for the nations, and the beast of the land will no longer devour them. They will dwell securely, and none will make them afraid. I will establish for them a planting of renown, and they will no longer be decimated by famine in the land. They will no longer bear the shame of the nations. Then they will know that I, Yahweh their God, am with them, and that they are my people, the house of Israel, the word of Yahweh Elohim. Now you are my sheep, the sheep of my pasture. You are man. I am your God, the word of Yahweh Elohim. Kind of sums up what we've been talking about.
So here's a Isaiah wrote around the 8th century BC and Jeremiah in the 6th century. And if we're doing BC or BCE, before Common Era, or it used to be, what is that, before Christ, which is neither here nor there. Ezekiel and Daniel are both a little later, but also in the 6th century. So you got Jeremiah and Ezekiel writing at the same time, roughly. I don't know how far apart they are, as far as, do you know where they are located?
No, I don't think it tells us that we're.
It might. Let me go to Ezekiel verse.
It probably does in there somewhere.
Jeremiah has this interesting vision, right? No, Ezekiel's the one with wheels with no wheels.
Well, I have Jeremiah. Okay.
It says, okay, so it says exactly
It's
where
in
it's on
Jerusalem.
Ezekiel, verse chapter 1, on the 5th day of the 4th month in the 13th year, while I was living among the exiles by the Chebar River,
Yeah.
the sky
And I was in
opened.
there. Sorry,
What's that?
Babylon. They were in Babylon, right?
Yeah, in Babylon by the Chebar River. It goes on to say that. Okay, now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1 and see if he says where he is. 1 second. It's interesting that both Jeremiah and Ezekiel live around the same time. I mean, that's kind of interesting to me, but
Yeah.
do they get the same vision and are separated by time and space? You know, it could be like one of those things where, okay, they plagiarized each other.
No, they're their own separate.
No, clearly, you
Scrolls.
and I believe that, but I just kind of want to drive the point home for people.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
The word of Jeremiah, son of Hilkiah, one of the priests at Anathoth, in the territory of Benjamin. So,
Well, in 22 in Jeremiah, he's told to go up to Lebanon. He was told to speak to the king at Jerusalem.
so Simeon is inside of Simeon is inside of Judah, and Benjamin is just a bit to the north. And I'll put this on the map, so on the screen, so everybody can see it. So if he's in Benjamin, he's a little bit north of Judah.
And during Jeremiah's time, they go into captivity of Babylon.
Right. So they're not in communication with one another, is what I'm saying. Right. So.
Right, because Jeremiah is like before they were taken to Babylon, and then during, and then Ezekiel, they're already there, and Daniel, they're already there.
Okay, so we'll start off with Jeremiah, or Yirmiyahu, if you don't like the J's, verse 23, chapter 23. The righteous branch. How terrible it will be for the shepherds who are destroying and scattering the sheep in my care, declares Yahuwah. This is what I, Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel, said to the shepherds who take care of my people. And boy, oh boy, if you're a shepherd out there, and you're making a claim that you heard from the Holy Ghost that was your life call, I'm going to tell you, no, you put that mantle on yourself, and you better be careful with your words, because this is what I, Yahuwah of Israel, said to the shepherds who take care of my people. You have scattered my sheep and chased them away. You have not taken care of them, so now I will take care of you by punishing you for the evil you have done, declares Yahuwah. If you are not looking for the lost sheep of Israel and teaching them to do Yahuwah's ways, you are not doing what he said to do, and you can't be a shepherd. Then I will gather the remaining part of my flock from all the countries where I chased them. I will bring them back to their pasture, and they will be fertile and increase in number. I will put shepherds over them. Those shepherds will take care of them. My sheep will no longer be afraid or terrified. Not one of them will be missing, declares Yahuwah. And there's some promises. We just had something happen with somebody that I recently met and you've known for a while. And it's okay. Is it okay to say their name?
I have no idea.
Well, Nancy and Kevin, I'll say it now, and then if you get the permission to not say it, hopefully we can. So they were trying to have a child for the longest time, and they couldn't, right? And then we read the promise to Abraham that if you come back and you do my stuff, and we've read the promises from Isaiah, right? And what does he say? There'll be rain and plenty of food and lots of children. They were stopped from having children. They repented of their ways. They came back to Yahuwah, and oh my gosh, they get pregnant. That is the fulfillment of these words, man.
Yeah, and now they have a baby girl.
Then I will gather, so this is verse 3. Then I will gather the remaining part of my flock from all the countries where I chased them. I will bring them back to their pasture, and they will be fertile and increase in number. I will put shepherds over them. Those shepherds will take care of them. My sheep will no longer be afraid or terrified, and not one of them will be missing, declares Yahuwah. Now, when he says, I will bring them back to my pasture, do you think he's talking about a physical place, or his pasture something that you consume and do? Like, is it doing his word, or is he going to physically bring you somewhere?
Can almost be either way. But what I love is that he himself is bringing you there, and he himself scattered his sheep. So regardless of these bad shepherds, he was the one who caused them to be scattered because they had not kept his ways. And then he is the one who's going to bring them back. And then it's going to go well because you're going to have good shepherds. And that, right, I think is so cool.
The days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I will grow a righteous Shemaiah, which Mashiach, it could be the same word, for David. And people say, well, there's Jesus.
It literally says from David, like actually David.
He will be a king who will rule wisely. He will do what is fair and right in the land. In his lifetime, Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety. This is the name that he will be given, Yahuwah Zedekinu. And what is the definition of Yahuwah Zedekinu?
I have Yahweh is our righteousness.
Okay. This is why the days are coming. That is why the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when people's oaths will no longer be, Yahuwah brought the people of Israel out of Egypt. As Yahuwah lives, instead their oath will be, Yahuwah brought the descendants of the nation of Israel out of the land of the north, and all the lands where he scattered them. As Yahuwah lives, at that time they will live in their own land. Who's going to bring these people?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Listen, what?
Okay, so Yah had made himself so famous by taking his people out of Egypt. And you're not even going to remember that anymore. You're just going to remember that he gathered his people from the north. Like, he's bringing his people and he's gathering them. And that is just as famous as he brought them out of Egypt with all the treasure. It's going to be even more famous than we've known him so far. I think that's so cool.
Have you heard of this phrase, the greater Exodus?
Yeah, that's what that is.
Say this about the prophets: I am deeply disturbed. All my bones tremble. I am like a drunk, like a person who has had too much wine, because of Yahuwah and his holy words. The land is filled with adulterers. The land mourns because of the curse. Pastures in the wilderness have dried up. The people are evil, and they use their strength to do the wrong things. The prophets and the priests are godless. Even in my temple, I found them doing evil, declares Yahuwah. That is why their own way will become like a slippery path. That is why their own way will become like slippery paths in the dark. They will be chased away, and they will fall down in the dark. I will bring disaster on them. It is time for them to be punished, declares Yahuwah. Boy, oh boy, if you're out there, especially in this Torah movement, and you're saying, I just want to speak and make people feel good about themselves, and I don't want to offend anybody, you're going to be chased, and you will fall, and I will bring disaster on you. It is time for you to be punished, declares Yahuwah. You are putting yourselves right in his crosshairs, man. Repent, you people who want to teach his word. You're not telling the people the right thing. I say this about the prophets of Samaria. I saw something disgusting. The prophets of Samaria prophesied by Baal and led my people Israel astray. Say this about the prophets of Jerusalem. I see something horrible. The prophets of Jerusalem commit adultery and live a lie. They support those who do evil. so that no one turns back from their wickedness. They are all like Sodom to me, and those who live in Jerusalem are like Gomorrah. This is what Yahuwah Sabaoth says about the prophets. I will give them wormwood to eat and a poison to and I will give them wormwood to eat and poison to drink. The prophets of Jerusalem have spread godlessness throughout the land. This is what Yahuwah Sabaoth says. Don't listen to what the prophets are saying to you. They fill you with false hope. They speak about visions that they dreamed up. These visions are not from Yahuwah. They keep saying to those who despise me, Yahuwah says, everything will go well for you. They tell all who live by their own stubborn ways, nothing bad will happen to you. Who is in Yahuwah's inner circle and sees and hears his words? Who pays attention and listens to his word? The storm of Yahuwah will come with his anger, like a windstorm. It will swirl down on the heads of the wicked. The anger of Yahuwah will not turn back until he has done everything he intends to do. In the last days, you will understand this clearly. I didn't send these prophets, yet they ran with their message. I didn't speak to them, yet they prophesied. If they had been in my inner circle, they would have announced my word to my people. They would have turned back from their evil ways and the evil they have done. I am an Elohim who is near. I am also an Elohim who is far away, declares Yahuwah. No one can hide so that I can't see him, declares Yahuwah. I fill heaven and earth, declares Yahuwah. I have heard the prophets who speak lies in my name. They say, I had a dream, I had a dream. How long will these prophets continue to lie and deceive? They tell each other dreams they had because they want to make my people forget my name, and their ancestors forget my name because of Baal. The prophet who has a dream should tell his dream. However, the person who has my word should honestly speak my word. What does grain have to do with straw? Asked Yahuwah. Isn't my word like fire or like a hammer that shatters a rock? Asked Yahuwah. I am against the prophets who steal my words from each other, declares Yahuwah. I am against the prophets who speak their own thoughts and say that they speak for me. I am against those who prophesy dreams they made up. Wow, what an accusation, man, declares Yahuwah. That they tell the dreams they made up and lead my people astray with their lies and their wild talk. I didn't send them or command them to go. They don't help these people at all, declares Yahuwah. When these people, the prophets or the priests, ask you, what revelation has Yahuwah burdened you with now? Say to them, you are the burden. I will abandon you, declares Yahuwah. Suppose the prophets, the priests, or the people say, this is Yahuwah's revelation. I will punish them and their families. They should ask their neighbors and their relatives, what is Yahuwah's answer? And what did Yahuwah say? They should never again say, this is Yahuwah's revelation, because person's word becomes the revelation. They will twist the words of Elohim, Chane, Yahuwah, Sabaoth, our Elohim. Jeremiah says this to the prophets. What was Yahuwah's answer to you? And what did Yahuwah say? Suppose they say, this is Yahuwah's revelation. Then say, this is what Yahuwah says, because you have said, this is what Yahuwah's revelation. This is Yahuwah's revelation. Even though I command you not to repeat this, saying, I will certainly forget you. I will throw you out of my presence and out of the city that I gave you and your ancestors. I will bring eternal disgrace and shame on you. It will never be forgotten. That concludes Yahuwah's words through his prophet Jeremiah. In this day and age, how many people have written books, or talked about, or get online and create a video on some video on something. The rapture, even like everything's gonna be fine. We're gonna get raptured out of here. I heard it. I saw it. I believed it, and I'm gonna share it with you.
No thanks.
Don't believe them. It's not true.
Right.
Made up.
Exactly. Read for yourself. That's the important part.
How long did the final days last? I wonder.
Mm.
We read Yahuwah prophesying to Abraham, in the last video in the Book of Jubilees, that he said that the time of
But in what you read, it was like it's a specific time. Like he has it. He knows. Like we don't know, but he has a specific amount of time. And then he's like, and then at that time or at that day, right? And we don't know how to place that in history or where that fits. But he has a specific plan.
there are some very well-meaning teachers out there who are not teaching you his word, man. They're just not. They don't know it. They're not saying, hey, you're Israel and you need to stop doing these things. You need to stop mixing. You need to start reading. You just need to start learning from Yahuwah himself, man. Like there are so few doing it.
Even in the Torah community, stop mixing.
Yeah,
look at his words.
Especially in the Torah community. There's some that
Right.
refuse to say, just for the sake of keeping peace.
Yeah.
Look, man, this is what Yahuwah says.
Right. And I assumed reading his words, like being in a Torah community, like that was good enough. Finally, I was different, right? I had his truth. It's just like the church. It's still like the same. How are you different from a Catholic? Sorry, you're just not until you stop mixing, until you have one God. Like finally, I feel like there's a qualifier. Who's Israel? They have one God.
You know that vision, I keep bringing it up, but Daniel, the statue.
Yeah.
It's the iron, which we know is Rome, and also Constantinople, Turkey, where Constantine originated from, the first Pope, Emperor Constantine. But it goes into 10 toes, right? Iron mixed with miry clay. And the dirty little secret that people may not realize is that the word Catholic means United Church of Rome. Isn't that wild? And then I think it was 2017, this Pope said it's time for the daughters of Rome to come home. And all the religions of the world met for a photo op.
Yeah.
Wow. I put it together, people. You're worshiping the wrong God.
Yeah. It's terrible.
I've been holding this one back for a little bit, but Yahuwah says, when you do this and remember it. When your children ask why you do a thing, right? What's the thing? It's Passover. It's unleavened bread. When we do this thing, tell your children what happened in Egypt and do it in remembrance of my might. Do it in remembrance of my might.
Because he became famous in that one event. He had foretold it to Abraham, and then it happened. They left with the treasures of Egypt. He's famous for that.
Now, there's another dude who comes along and says, when you do these things, and it clearly says it's the Passover, do this in remembrance of me. That's a false god, man. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Think about it. Let that resonate and roll around in your brain. You got the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob saying, when your children ask why you're doing this, remind them about me. And then you've got another God who shows up on the scene who says, do this in remembrance of me. Yeah. How dare you?
Exactly. And then that's what I mean about the Torah community. They are mixing in JC to the Passover, to unleavened bread, to Shavuot. And it's like, no, stop mixing. Yah himself gave you those festivals. Those are his festivals. Nobody else. No one beside him. Nothing else needed. Like he is enough. And it's time that we realize that.
Because there is a promise to you teachers out there who aren't telling us, like The hardest part to do is to let go of what you've learned. It really is hard. I get it, man.
It
But at the same
is.
time, like, okay, everything we've been taught is a lie. Everything.
Pretty much.
So start over from square one and just read what he says and
Yeah.
leave it at that.
And it's so much better. The story is so much better.
Because these people that we just talked about who had a child failed on what they believed before and started over from ground zero and
Yeah.
praised Yahuwah and kept his ways, and they had a child.
Yeah.
Just like Yahuwah promised Abraham.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, how big of a deal is that, guys? It's a big deal.
It is.
Hey, you know what? This God of Israel is pretty cool.
He is consistent. Yes.
He'll forgive me. He'll forget. He's cool. Nice. He's not. Oh, dude, he's got a set of rules for his kingdom. This is how we get it done. Dude, I just love this stuff, man. I love reading this stuff. I just love it. Like, if we think that if we don't follow this teacher, that teacher, that we're missing out, let Yahuwah teach you, man. Because they just don't know. They don't know.
Oh, and his word is so much better. You can read it for yourself. That's the best part.
When did people on a whole start learning to read? Like, I didn't know how to read back for the longest time, right?
Oh, the Bible wasn't printed. I mean, there's tons of things that got in the way, but we have all the information today.
There's a company called Gutenberg who invented the printing press over in Germany. That was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stop the recording. I'm gonna pray. Yahuwah bless everybody who's listening to this. Let Israel come back. Let them realize that you are Yahuwah Sabaoth, our mighty El, and that they stop listening to pastors and preachers and shepherds who don't know what they're talking about. You literally said here they don't know what they're talking about. I didn't send them, and they're not looking for my sheep. So thank you that you're the one to go look for us. Thank you for waking us up. Bless the world. Bless the world. Bless Israel in the world that it continues to wake up. In whose name I pray. Amen.